Q&A. Yes, Q&A. So if you can go to Q&A, that would be good.
Yeah, so the first one, do you think AI detectors can accurately detect AI generated content? If yes, do you have any tools you you would recommend for checking AI written text? At this moment, there is no really a good tools AI detectors to do it, but yeah, it depends. Some of the, like for example, students, they're really good at it. They know how to make it like a human. But some of the AI generated content is so AI, you know it immediately is AI generated, right? But if you're really good at it, you can still make it, paraphrase it, etc. But for text generation, it's very difficult. For image generation, it's much easier because many this kind of model, they create some pattern there. So they put some invisible watermark in the image. So it's much easier to detect AI generated image than text. Okay. So, and I assume most of the university, they ask not to use AI detector because at this moment it's not reliable, right? You cannot just, because even you are fully written by human, it can still give you a yeah, a evaluation. Okay, it's written by AI. And there was a study, it's actually the bias study. So they found that if you are non-native speaker, you are more likely to label as AI written. Yeah, so that's quite interesting. Even it's written by human. So I heard something called shadow user, where you can deploy thousands of agents all with different persona. So I just want to know if it is accurate enough to run highly structured research experiment to gather a rough idea about the outcome probability. Uh, it it has, and it's called there are different names. Somebody call it silicon sample, right? Or call it digital twins, or like synthetic user. We are going to cover it tomorrow afternoon. Okay. So in some way, yes, it can, because they use it to replicate some of the very famous psychological experiments, and the replication rate is quite okay. But on the other hand, it's a very controversial area, I would say. So we can discuss tomorrow afternoon. I will also show you how to do it if you want to create your own silicon sample or synthetic user. You can also synthetic consumers and synthetic human. You can also do it tomorrow afternoon. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Then let's continue with what we have left this morning. So we were talking about the footprint, right? So we know large language model is computational intensive. So we did a study. So together with my PhD student, we did a study, and it's a qualitative study. So we asked people, okay, do they know AI is not sustainable? Most of the people, they know it's not sustainable, but they use it anyway. They try to justify the usage. Okay, they will say, okay, we use AI because we focus on the functionality, we focus on the efficiency, and they say, okay, ethics concern is not really their main, their main criteria there. And they aware of environmental cost, but they don't know how big the magnitude of it. Okay. And they also try to externalize the responsibility. They will say, okay, this is not my responsibility to be sustainable. It's the responsibility of the companies, of the government, or the provider. Okay. And they also get used, if they use the same model, they are very difficult to change to another model. They will make it as a habit, but they are willing to change. Okay, we found some good ones. So okay, they are willing to change if you can find an alternative for them, and this alternative need to be more or less comparable to the performance of the. So for example, if you tell them, okay, GPT is not sustainable, you probably can use Gemini. So they probably are happy about it because you provide the alternative, and also the performance of these two models, they are not very huge. Okay, so that actually give us some, some good implication is that maybe policymakers, they should force this kind of company to disclose their environmental impact, right? And individual nudge on enough, institutional signal matter. That is the conclusion of this study. And here is a working checklist for responsible use. So I try to summarize it myself. First is verify. Always double check, the fact, the quotation, the citation against the source. Okay, always go back to the original paper, right? To read it yourself. Maybe you don't need to read it in like really carefully like before, but you should at least to check if the summary of GPT is the same, or summary of the large language model is the same as what it meant to be. Disclose it. If you use it, disclose it. That's always the, if you even you use it for grammar check, just disclose it, right? And I know some of the publisher, just recently I heard from my colleague. So he told us that, okay, he was reviewing a paper, but then the paper was rejected because the publisher used some AI detector, and they found that, okay, it has some pattern of AI. So they reject the paper immediately. So if you even use it for proofreading, just, disclose it there. So it's always important. Or if you use it to generate an image, you need to disclose it. Okay. And own it like you are the author and remain accountable for every claim. So you really be careful with, for example, data analysis. So now I use AI to do data analysis, but I always double check. So there is always a way to double check. For example, you check the manipulation check whether they align well with the direction of your effect, or check certain, pick some sample, subsample, and rerun the analysis again, or etc. to check, okay, if the reverse coded item is really reverse coded or not. This kind of detail. Sometimes if you delegate too much to the AI, they have too much autonomy. That means you lose control, right? So you also need to have a balance of control and autonomy of the AI. Okay, and the fourth one is protect the data. So if it's sensitive individual data, you need to anonymize yourself first, or use a local model. It doesn't mean you cannot use AI to analyze, like survey data. You can still use it to do survey data, but if it include like email address, IP address, you always need to blind it, delete those columns first before you analyze it. And then mind the sustainability, right? So if the AI can do the work, less capable AI can do simple tasks, right? And here I want to recommend you a very interesting project. It's called Tidy Carbon. So it's actually a R package. So if you use R, you can install this R package. It can measure, when you use a local model, how much energy you consume for that when you run that task. And you can compare, okay, if I choose this model, maybe it will reduce the energy. So in the end, you can see your carbon emission when you do this analysis. So it's really, really interesting. And I hope this kind of effort can be expanded to all those closed source model, right? So we force them to review this information. And me and my colleague, we also did a study. So we tried to scrape all those policy from different university. So for the top 100 university, according to the Shanghai ranking, so we get a policy from 61 universities. So they're GenAI research policies. And we try to map them. Okay, what are the policy there? So the first one is data privacy and security. Actually, that's the most important. Almost all the university, they talk about this. Okay, you cannot upload sensitive data to the AI. Transparency, accountability, need to disclose it. You are the only one responsible for it. Academic integrity, right? You cannot just ask it to generate fake data and then use this fake data as real data, right? Bias, fairness, intellectual property and content ownership, right? That's actually most library they say, okay, you should not never upload a paper to GPT, but there's always other way to do it. Verification accuracy, you need to double check. Human oversight is very similar to verification. Environmental sustainability, only 2 schools mentioned about it. So it's really overlooked, right? Permissible use, limits, collaboration, alignment, etc. So if you're interested in, you can check this paper and yeah, to take a better look of it. Okay. Any questions so far?
There is some question in Q&A. One question.
Okay.
The top one.
I don't see it.
Did you already address this one? Do you think AI detectors can accurately
I
detect?
already answered this question already.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Good,
And
thank
the
you.
chat, do we have it? No, no any chat.
I think one participant cannot access to the website.
Can you
Academy.
please post the detail of your article on sustainability with AI? I can actually upload the slide to our it's not yet published. The paper is still it's a working paper, but we can upload the slide to our learning platform. Okay.
There is a question, not question, just that one participant cannot access to the website, academy.gai.
You need to delete the course. I think the course is not there. So you need to delete this. This should be the one.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, great. Then let's move to actually the literature review part. Yes.
Data we upload on Copilot will stay within the attention. We upload on ChatGPT, you may get exposed to. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. Because for Copilot, they deploy in your own server. So your data stay within your own organization. The same if your company or your organization has signed an agreement with GPT, they also deploy. So the data stay within your organization. For example, like BI Norwegian Business School, they use Gemini. So the data stay in the university. So in this case, it's safe. It's better, it's not like you can still not 100% sure that they're not going to use the data to train the model, but it's already much safer, right? AI Copilot is powered by several models. So it's a kind of you can consider it as an application, a chatbot powered by several different models. You can use Claude on Copilot. You can also use GPT on Copilot. So it's just a chatbot. But Copilot can also be integrated into Excel, integrated in PowerPoint. So you can it's better integrated. Yeah. Inform the respondents. Yeah. No, unless you use that data to train an AI. Then you don't need to, if you are going to use that data you are going to analyze the data using AI, it's the same as you use SPSS or use Python to analyze the data, right? So because it will be certainly anonymized. So you cannot have that data with that address, with that email, with that personal identifiable information there, and then you use it directly, use AI directly to analyze the data. That's not permitted. Even consent is obtained is not permitted. Mhm. Yeah, that's really a good question. Yeah. So in this case, I would use a local model to analyze it. Like for example, annotation, I would use a local model. Or if you feel like, I think in the end, you are still the one who judge it, right? If you think that is really sensitive data, then you don't do it. And if you think, okay, it should be fine. So I think the researchers still need to be the one who responsible for it, right? There is no really a fixed rule at this moment to, to obtain the consent if you're going to process that information using AI. Only if you want to use that information to for example, build a synthetic or a digital twin of them, then you need to inform them. Yeah. Yeah, the use. Yeah, yes. Okay, great. Okay, and for the literature discovery and synthesis, then we are